Denver, we have a problem. Actually, we have three. And if you thought training camp was going to slow down before roster cutdown day, buckle up because the rumor mill just kicked into overdrive and none of it is boring. A division rival is reportedly making calls about one of Denver's best defensive breakout stars. A future Hall of Fame linebacker is sitting on the free agent market with the Broncos' name attached to him again. And the backup quarterback situation behind Bo Nix has gotten so shaky that fans are begging for a trade before the ink even dries on the 53-man roster. So grab a seat, because we're breaking down every single angle of this, and trust me, you are going to want to stick around for the ending on this one. Before we get into the chaos, if this channel has helped you make sense of the madness this offseason, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. We are chasing down 1,000 subscribers, and every single one of you clicking that button gets us closer. It costs nothing, it takes 2 seconds, and it means everything to a channel like this one that lives and dies by people like you showing up every single day. Now let's get into it. Let's start with the name that is going to make every single one of you nervous: Riley Moss. According to a well-connected Green Bay insider who has already correctly called two of the biggest trades in recent memory, the Micah Parsons blockbuster and the Myles Garrett saga, the Packers are reportedly working the phones looking for cornerback help. And guess who is on that list? Not just anybody. Joey Porter Jr. gets mentioned. Kool-Aid McKinstry gets mentioned. And then, sitting right there in black and white, Denver's own Riley Moss. Now here's the twist that makes this whole thing even juicier. The reported reasoning behind Green Bay's interest is that former first-round pick Jaire Alexander's replacement in waiting simply is not ready to take over a starting job yet. Translation: Green Bay knows their in-house options are not good enough, so they are scouting the open market, and Riley Moss's name is sitting right at the top of that list. If you have watched a single snap of Broncos football this preseason, you already know why. This man has been an absolute problem for opposing offenses. 0 receptions allowed through his preseason reps, a pass breakup, and an interception to boot. That is about as close to a perfect stat line as a defensive back can produce. He is not just having a good camp, he is having the kind of camp that gets a guy paid. And apparently the kind of camp that gets rival general managers picking up the phone. Now, before anybody panics, let's be very clear about something. The same report that named Riley Moss also said in no uncertain terms that a trade is not imminent. Nothing is close. Nobody is packing bags. But here's the deeper story buried inside this rumor, and it is one worth sitting with. Teams do not call about players they think are mediocre. Teams call about players who are about to blow up on tape and become expensive. Green Bay reaching out on Riley Moss is not a red flag. It is a compliment, a validation that the rest of the league is watching exactly what Denver fans have been watching all offseason long. This guy has turned himself into one of the more underrated corners in football, and if he keeps performing like this once the games start counting, the Broncos are going to have a very expensive, very good problem on their hands when it comes time to negotiate his next contract. So here is the honest, no-nonsense stance on this whole situation. Denver should not even entertain offers unless something absolutely ridiculous lands on the table, and even then, it better include serious draft compensation. Because trading away a corner playing at this level, for pennies on the dollar, right before he could hit unrestricted free agency and command real money, would be one of the more baffling decisions this front office could make. Keep Riley Moss. Pay Riley Moss. Let every other team in this league keep calling and keep getting told no. Now let's shift over to the front seven, because this next rumor has been circulating for weeks and it simply will not go away. Bobby Wagner, yes, that Bobby Wagner, the future Hall of Fame linebacker who has spent over a decade terrorizing offenses, is once again being connected to Denver as a potential free agent fit. And unlike some of the noise that floats around during the dog days of August, this one is not coming from nowhere. It has been pointed out by multiple outlets that Denver's current starting linebacker duo carries real questions attached to it. One starter has never been considered a strong player in coverage, and the other was a backup as recently as last season. Behind those two, the depth chart gets young and unproven in a hurry, And that combination has people around the league wondering out loud whether a savvy veteran addition might make sense before the season kicks off. Let's talk about why this conversation exists in the first place. Because the tape does not lie. Go back and watch the touchdown Denver's defense allowed during a recent preseason matchup against Green Bay. It was a simple check down, nothing fancy schematically, but the coverage completely broke down. There was a wide-open passing lane, miscommunication in the middle of the field, and 7 points that never should have happened. The linebacker responsible for making the defensive calls was right in the middle of that breakdown, and while it would be unfair to pin the entire play on one player, it does highlight a very real concern. This is a defense that can be had over the middle of the field if the linebacker communication is not crisp, and right now, crisp is not the word anyone would use to describe it. Here's where things get complicated. Bobby Wagner's tackling numbers are still elite. A couple of years ago, he was rated as one of the most efficient tacklers anywhere in the league, and when this man wraps up a ball carrier, that possession is over. If you are looking purely at the box score, you would think this is still a top-tier linebacker in his prime. But there is a reason he remains unsigned deep into August, and it is not simply a lack of interest. Teams around the league are reportedly hesitant to meet his contract demands, and when that many organizations pass on a player with this kind of resume, it usually signals something about how the league views his coverage ability at this stage of his career. He can still thump. Can he still run with modern tight ends and slot receivers on obvious passing downs? That is the real question, and it is the one that should decide whether Denver pulls the trigger. So here's the verdict on Bobby Wagner. If this team is going to make one more roster addition before cutdown day, it needs to happen at either tight end or linebacker. Full stop. Those are the two spots with the clearest depth concerns. Wagner would not walk in and be the long-term answer, but as a rotational veteran presence who can spell the current starters on early downs, communicate checks, and mentor a young room that includes multiple first- and second-year players still finding their footing, there is a real argument to be made. It is not a move that fixes everything, but it is a move that stabilizes a shaky spot, and shaky spots have a funny way of deciding games in December. All right, we are halfway through this breakdown, and if you are still here, that tells me you care about this team as much as I do, so I need 30 seconds of your time. Smash that like button right now. Drop a comment telling me whether you would sign Bobby Wagner or trust the kids in that linebacker room, and if you have not subscribed yet, please do it. We are grinding toward 1,000 subscribers on this channel, and every single person reading this sentence has the power to help us get there. It costs you nothing, and it means the world to us. All right, back to the chaos. Now let's get into the story that has fans the most fired up, and that is the backup quarterback situation behind Bo Nix. Because if we are being brutally honest with ourselves, the eye test has not been kind lately. There is a lot of respect owed to what the current backup quarterback accomplished a season ago. Riding the momentum all the way into the AFC Championship conversation is nothing to scoff at. But recent preseason tape against Green Bay exposed something that has been lurking underneath the surface for a while now, when the offensive line in front of him breaks down. And it did break down significantly in that game. This is not a quarterback who can consistently create something out of nothing. He needs a clean pocket, he needs time, he needs the ball out on rhythm, and when those things are not available to him, the results get ugly in a hurry. And look, that is not some hot take pulled out of thin air. This is a question fans are asking every single day. Do we need a real conversation about whether our current backup situation is good enough? And when you compare the top two quarterbacks currently competing for that backup job, the numbers from a recent joint preseason outing against the Rams tell the story all on their own. One quarterback completed roughly 60% of his passes for just over 140 yards with 0 touchdowns and an interception. The other completed almost half of his attempts with 0 touchdowns and also threw a pick. Neither performance moves the needle. Neither performance says with confidence that if Bo Nix goes down for even a handful of games, this offense is in capable hands. So what is the answer here? There is a growing belief that Denver should be exploring the trade market, and two names keep surfacing again and again: Spencer Rattler and Zach Wilson, both currently on rosters elsewhere, and both representing very different flavors of upside. Rattler brings the kind of pure arm talent and mobility that could theoretically mirror some of what makes Bo Nix dangerous. A similar style of dual-threat unpredictability that keeps opposing defensive coordinators up at night. Zach Wilson, on the other hand, brings something arguably more valuable in a pinch, actual experience within this exact system, having already spent time in Denver's building and around this coaching staff. He knows the verbiage. He knows the expectations. In an emergency, familiarity can be worth just as much as flash. Neither option is a perfect slam dunk, and to be fair, both of those quarterbacks have had their own uneven moments this preseason as well, so this is not a call to go mortgage draft capital for a savior. But the appetite for change behind Bo Nix is real, and it is growing louder by the week among the fan base. And honestly, it is hard to blame anyone for feeling that way. Imagine, just for a second, if Bo Nix had not been ready to roll in week 1 of last season. Imagine 6 games into a season with either of the current options forced into extended, high-leverage snaps. That is a genuinely frightening thought for a team with real postseason aspirations. And it is exactly why this conversation refuses to die down as roster cutdown day creeps closer and closer. So here is where we land on all 3 of these stories, because they are more connected than they might seem on the surface. This is a Denver team that is legitimately good in several areas, good enough that a division rival wants to poach one of its best young defensive players. Good enough to be a whisper destination for a future Hall of Famer looking for one more shot at contention. But it is also a team with clearly identifiable soft spots, a linebacker room that needs more juice, and a backup quarterback room that has not proven it can hold the line if disaster strikes. The next 6 days before roster cutdown are going to tell us an enormous amount about how seriously this front office takes closing those gaps. Do they stand pat and trust internal development? Do they make a splash and bring in a proven veteran presence at linebacker? Do they get aggressive and go get real insurance behind Bo Nix before the games start counting for real? All 3 of those decisions are on the table right now. And all 3 of them could define whether this season ends in heartbreak or in a deep playoff run. One thing is for certain, this offseason has given us more storylines in the last 2 weeks than some entire seasons managed to produce, and that is exactly why you need to be here for every single update as it happens. This front office is not going to sit on its hands, and neither should you. Drop a comment below and let me know which of these 3 stories worries you the most. The Riley Moss trade buzz, the Bobby Wagner linebacker debate, or the backup quarterback question mark. I read every single comment and I want to know where you stand. And if you made it all the way to the end of this one, that means you are exactly the kind of dedicated fan this channel was built for. So do not leave without doing 3 quick things. Like this video so more people see it, drop a comment with your take so we can keep this conversation going, and if you have not already, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another breakdown the moment news drops. We are closing in on 1,000 subscribers, and I genuinely cannot get there without you. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next time, stay locked in, keep it right here for everything Denver.
Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 2,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.